Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Gender Nebulous podcast. And my special guest today is Katie Neeves, founder and owner and director of Cool2BTrans and also known as one of the many gobby trans women. So welcome, Katie.
Hi, Vicky. Thanks very much for having me again.
You're very welcome. I think it was 2021. May when we did the previous podcast together, and that was on the other podcast that I was doing at the time called Transclusive.
That's right.
So there's a lot changed between now and then. I mean,
there has, isn't there? I think for both of us.
Yeah, it's like so much different. I mean, you've been really doing a lot of stuff. You've been very visible, out there doing all kinds of things.
I'm quite shy, really, Vicky.
No, I don't think you are. I think the last time we bumped into each other was it Trans in the City last year, where you won an award?
Yeah, I think it might have been. I think it probably was, actually.
That's the last time I saw you in person.
We saw each other at Trans Pride Brighton, but
I wasn't there this year. That was
that was
because I was in Liverpool on a hen night. Would you believe?
Oh, right, fantastic.
Yeah, it was my niece getting married. So yeah,
that was brilliant. Fun. Yeah. So it's been quite a time, hasn't it?
It certainly has. So let's start off with Cool2BTrans, your website business. I guess your strapline for that is entertain, educate, empower.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about those. What do you mean by those? I know entertain. I know you're not sitting there playing the piano entertaining people, but
I do play the guitar and banjo and sing. Yeah, so I do that. But
whilst you're doing one of your talks, you do a little banjo job.
That sounds wrong. That sounds so wrong, Vicky.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Give a little banjo
job. I'll take that back.
It'd be interesting to see whether that makes the edit.
Everything stays in.
Yeah. Oh no. I just think that it's important to educate people, but while you're educating people, if you can entertain them, then they'll enjoy it. They'll listen to what you've got to say. They'll understand it and they'll remember it. And they'll have a good time while they're doing it. And then they'll tell their friends about it. And then you'll get more people along to the next session and people come along because that's what happens. Because if they're really entertained when you have these sessions. So in my talks and my training sessions, I do use a hell of a lot of humor. And I've really played on it. As I've gone on, I've just developed it much more. And it's become much more of a performance. And, put a lot of corny jokes in there. But it works. And I just love nothing more than really playing an audience. That's why I love in-person gigs. So I do a lot of virtual gigs, both speaking and training gigs, but there's no atmosphere when you're doing it virtually. So it's much more hard work. Whereas when you're standing in front of a real audience, you can really work them. And because funny things happen, and you can just play on it and just pick up on different things.
Yeah, I think the use of humor in these things. I think it's a great idea because it breaks the ice, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it breaks down barriers as well, because it's especially talking about trans people. It's a story that it's something that many people, or a subject that many people feel uneasy talking about, and a lot of people are afraid to say the wrong. They think they're going to say the wrong thing, so they're afraid to talk to you. And whereas when you use that humor, it just breaks down barriers, and also it's a way of showing people that trans people are just ordinary people who want to be happy, and that's it. That's all we are, isn't it? That is all it is.
We're no different to anybody else.
Exactly. And so I often say to people, trans people are just boringly ordinary people who've had extraordinary journeys to be happy.
But you've been doing a lot of events and appearances. I keep seeing you popping up on social media all over the place doing various things.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been and I absolutely love it. I really love doing this as well, and people it seems to resonate with people, and so I've been getting so many opportunities. And I speak to I can be speaking to big corporations one minute, and charities the next, small businesses the next, or just local groups, or support groups, and all sorts of people I talk to, and and it's great, and the Q&As are different every time, because depending on who I talk with, I've done some training to medical practitioners, and I've been doing quite a bit of that. I've been doing quite a bit for the NHS, and then also for like local groups of general practices. So I'm training the doctors, nurses, the reception staff, all those sort of people as well. Because they don't get trained in all this stuff otherwise.
Yeah.
Doctors don't get trained about it at med school. So
No.
it's just,
So these kind of inspirational speaking events that you're doing, conferences, companies, associations, all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
I noticed you've been doing something in the States, haven't you, recently, with the US? Was it with the US?
Yeah,
government?
that's rumbling on. Yeah, so that's still, it's just a nightmare, to be honest. Just getting through all the red tape with all that. They
Right, yeah, I
agreed
can imagine
terms.
there's a lot of that.
They agreed terms ages ago, but it's just, so I had to. So in order to do that, I had to register with the UK government and with NATO. So I've become a NATO. I'm officially now a NATO supplier.
Oh, wow.
And
What do you supply?
yeah, me,
Me,
my
okay,
services,
yeah.
my service. So you get this encave number, which then is supposed to then sort of slot in with the US system to get onto to be a government, federal supplier with them. But the two systems don't talk to each other, and it's just been a real nightmare. So at the moment, I'm still trying to sort out all that red tape, and to be honest, I've been so busy with everything else that I haven't pushed it probably as much as I should. But it's just, so that's rumbling away in the baggground. So
So what
it's
was
still,
that training that you were going to do, though? What was it for?
it's for the Department of Homeland Security.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's the department within that I'll be doing it for. So
So it's like trans awareness kind of.
yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
So
So you've gone worldwide, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, I've been doing, but I have been, apart from that, I've been doing lots all over the world. Mainly speaking virtually, but to audiences all over the world doing it. So yeah, regularly speak to people all over the world. It's just incredible that.
Yeah, it's amazing how how much extra work you're suddenly doing now. Compared to a couple of years ago when you were just kind of getting going with this. Because I remember at the time you were kind of moving away from the photography business.
Yeah.
And you're moving more into Cool2BTrans.
Yeah.
So is it how's that gone? I mean, are you no longer doing photography at all?
I still do a bit, but I don't do much. I don't promote that business, so I only really do that work for existing clients. People who know that's what I do, and I'm still getting to the point where I might even take that website down, which is quite a big thing for me, because that's been a professional photographer for 37 years, and so it's a big thing to do that. But I'm sort of almost there. I'm not quite there yet with it yet.
So you've transitioned from photography to Cool2BTrans.
Yeah, and I love it. I absolutely love it, and it's amazing actually when I do the two different roles, the two different jobs, I get treated so differently.
Can imagine,
because as doing a job as a photographer, you go in somewhere, you're sort of treated just as a number sort of thing, and you're generally not treated particularly well. And you just go and do your thing, and that's it. Then the following day, same person, but then I could be going on and talking, going on stage talking to 500 people or whatever, and then as the guest speaker, and doing
totally
a keynote
different.
and you're treated as a celeb, and it's just like, and yet I'm exactly the same person. And it's weird, isn't it? But I suppose by doing the photography, it helps to keep my feet on the ground, and don't believe my own hype.
So you're still doing some, but just for the
just
kind of long-term private.
I do it.
Stuff.
So I do a bit, and people who know that's what I do, then I do a bit. But my main focus is definitely on Cool2BTrans, my Gobby-Trans work, as I call it.
Gobby-Trans work, And you do training, don't you, for various things? Do you just can you just go through, kind of give us an idea of what the training is that you offer?
Yeah, so I do. So it's trans awareness training, and I do I can do it to a general audience. So one that and there's different sessions that can be done, which can be done to any audience, to be honest, because you find that it's usually tailored to that particular audience depending on the Q&A. So if I'm doing a session to say a load of HR people, then I'll get a load of HR type questions, and employment related things. and how to make the workplace more trans inclusive, that kind of thing. But if I'm doing it to a more medical audience, to a load of doctors, then I'll get more clinical questions, and how can we make surgeries and hospitals and more trans inclusive, so that sort of thing. And so it just depends on the audience, or more general audience. Then they'll just be asking more general.
So you
questions.
kind of fine tune it depending on what the
Exactly.
organization needs or wants.
So that happens naturally. But then I've also got specific sessions that I do. So for HR directors and managers and leaders of businesses, and I've got some for medical professionals as well that are specifically for them, that go into the medical side much more. So I do that. So and always happy to look at writing specific things if there's any particular needs. But to be honest, the majority of it is covered by the general ones, because it is so adaptable, and it just works so well. And I got my most popular session that people tend to book me for is about an hour and a half, but I can do 3 hours, 3.5 hours.
So what kind of reception do you get? Because I know you're probably doing this for, I can imagine, an ERG, an employee resource group at a company or organization, would like you to come in and talk on behalf of them, or they'd invite you in as a speaker or something. But do you find yourself talking more with managers, HR people, or actually just like the general kind of workforce that they're trying to do the 101 trans inclusion chats with?
Both. I do all of that.
Do you get a good reception? Does it go over?
Yeah, I do. Generally, I get a very, very good reception. Really, really, wonderful ones. I mean, there's one I did recently for an organisation. It was the British and International Federation of Festivals for Music, Dance, and Speech, or something, speech, music, and drama, that sort of thing. And so they run these festivals for people who are performers, and then they have these adjudicators who judge them and critique them to help them improve their performance. And so they're used to seeing performances, and they were an amazing audience, and they gave me a standing ovation at the end, and it was incredible. It was lovely. It really was. And and then when I'm talking to the managers and directors as well, that usually most people haven't knowingly met a trans person. They will have done, they will have met loads, but often they don't realize they're trans. But even if they have met a trans person, often they won't have had the opportunity to have asked them lots of really personal questions. And when I do my Q&As, they're no holds barred. People can ask me absolutely anything. There's never been a question I've refused to answer. So it doesn't.
So I mean, you're always going to get those kind of people who or questions where they don't really want to offend you, or they don't know what to ask. I mean, how do you get a lot of those? How do you deal with those?
Fine. I mean, I did some sessions recently at a secondary school. I was talking to 600 teenagers in the secondary school.
Oh, that's a tough crowd.
Yeah, but they were great, to be honest. They were great. They were just, and typically, one lad put his hand up and asked what's between my legs. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's what you wanted to know. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So I was there to educate. So I did. So I did educate. So it's fine. Yeah, it's I'm just used to talking about all that sort of stuff and I think because I wasn't embarrassed or anything about what I'm talking about, it just went down really well. And then and it was interesting at the end of that particular session, I'm thinking with this school, a couple of lads came up to me and were asking me really good questions and really interested, and they were just like so responsive. I thought it was lovely. It really was.
Yeah, I've been doing a bit of work with diversity role models. I am a diversity role model.
Yeah.
Where it's all pretty much online. I've not been to the actual locations, but you do get some amazing questions from some of the kids. It's like there was one session I remember with the German school. It's not just UK stuff. It's and they were so on point with their questions. I was really quite shocked.
Wow.
But I mean, I don't know if you've done DRM work or you've worked with them yet, but
I haven't done
I would really recommend it. It's so much fun. It's really rewarding when you get to hear the questions and you see how accepting the kids are.
Yeah.
And then I've done some sessions with teachers, in training sessions. And some of the questions are just, no problem answering those. it's just like people just want to know.
Yeah.
I'm not offended by the questions. It's
No.
I'm happy to talk
Yeah.
about things.
Yeah.
I think my red line will be, as long as you're respectful, I'm happy to answer your question. It's
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And but what I have been finding more recently, there's been getting more, not necessarily hostile questions, but misinformed questions because
yeah,
of all the misinformation that's put out there in the media and all the hate and everything that's been going on recently in politics and in the media. And so so many people are being really misinformed about trans people now, and so I've been getting lots more. I mean, the classic questions are always about about same-sex spaces, kids, sport,
the usual.
and prisons. It's all the same. People love talking about toilets for some reason as well. All that sort of stuff.
I mean, you're right in what you say. I mean, these are all the issues that have been brought up in the media, by the government, even over the recent years, and these are all the talking points that the
and the classic one I had
anti-trans people talk about.
And the classic sort of thing you get is, well, I don't personally, like they say, well, I don't personally have a problem with it, but where I do draw the line is children.
Yeah.
I say, hang on a minute, and then I sort of take it back, and then I talk them through it, and then I just blow them out of the water with it, because I'm used to answering, as you are, used to answering all those sort of questions because they come up so often. But it's based on all this misinformation that's put out there.
You can. I mean, when you hear those questions, you automatically know from which piece of misinformation it came from. It's
all the time. So but people don't know. And I've even find that I've been getting it from my friends who are 100% trans supportive, but because there is so much of it in the media, they've started believing some of that stuff. And
I've noticed that too.
I know when all this stuff was kicking off with Isla Bryson, in the Scottish prison system, all of that, and it's crazy, all this hysteria about her being in the female estate, but she was in solitary confinement. She didn't come into contact with any other inmates at all, and then she was assessed, and she's a serial sex offender, so she was a danger to the other inmates, and she ended up being put into the
I mean, prison, it's all about risk assessment when when the individual goes in, and then the prison deals with it appropriately.
Absolutely, and she absolutely is a risk to the other inmates. But then what do they do about the cisgender female sex offenders who are also a risk to the other inmates? And
this is why it has to be risk assessment for all.
Exactly. So they must have a system of dealing with those. Well, trans women should be treated the same way. So they shouldn't be put in the male estate where they're at risk of being sexually abused.
I mean, a trans woman in a male prison is going to be at risk, serious risk.
Yeah. So but there's all that sort of misinformation that's put out there, but it's just you know what the media's like.
Oh God, yeah. Talking of the media, I mean, are you still doing your media appearances?
Yeah.
I know you did a few interviews on the radio, TV. You're still active in?
Done quite a few on ITV recently, and get brought into the BBC and all sorts of stuff. So there's been it's great actually. So I'm just like on their list, and so
I was gonna ask you about the list. I hear about this BBC ITV list. How do you get on these lists?
Oh, it's just
for any budding TV personality out there.
It's purely just through being on it. Once they've interviewed you once, if they like you, then they'll just.
So it's through the producers of the show.
It's just their contact lists, and then with the BBC, they've got a central list that they add you on, and so is ITV, and that they once they put you on there, then they have a central database, so that then they can look up. So if anybody wants a gobby trans person to talk to, then they look, and then they obviously they put their own comments to it as to what you like on interview.
So what you're saying is you're on the gobby trans list. Is what you're saying?
Yeah. So you never know the sort of opportunities that come up, and usually they're at short notice, and sometimes you can't do it because it's just too short notice.
I mean, some crazy thing will happen in the news, and
Yeah.
They want to get a trans person on to give them a hard time.
Can we get you on TV in an hour's time? And it's well, hang on, what?
Yeah, what's the topic? Oh, that one again. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it happens a lot, and so often. I mean, I turn down more interviews than I do. Even though I do a lot of interviews, I do turn down more than I do, because so often the media only want me on there when they want to set me up for an argument. I mean,
this is the problem with going on these like Talk TV.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
kind of
and
shows.
there's nothing to be gained from it. I mean, I turned down Piers Morgan recently because his producer emailed me and wanted me to get on his Talk TV show, Piers Morgan Uncensored, to have a debate about whether J.K. Rowling is transphobic or not. Yes, she is. Next question.
Yeah, next.
there's no
it's not really a debate, is it? We know that
it's not. And so, he wanted me to go down to London to be
in person. In person.
Oh, it was in person. Yeah, it was in person. So they wanted me to go down to London in the studio and to debate with Piers Morgan, and they'd get someone on from one of these other trans hostile hate groups like LGBT Alliance or any of the others. And I just thought, well, let's face it, Piers Morgan's shows are all about him, aren't they? So he would do his diatribe to begin with. Then they'd go over to the other trans hostile person, whoever they got there. They'd have a load of time. I'd maybe get 3 minutes if I was lucky. Then it would go back to Piers, and he'd have the last word. And I would feel as if I'd been chewed up and spat out. And I think, why facilitate that? So
then he's going to go on about penguins for a while. So
exactly. So then my so my reply to the producer was, well, thank you so much for contacting me, but given Piers Morgan's past track record with trans people, I would rather stick rusty pins in my eyes while chewing my left arm off than being interviewed by that trans hostile bigot. But it was lovely of you to ask me anyway.
Well, thanks for asking anyway. Yeah.
Strangely, he didn't get back to me, and I was ever so upset. I can't imagine why.
Yeah, I mean, I've not been on those kind of shows. I would be quite nervous about going on.
It's very risky.
It's risky, yeah. It is risky. It does come with a risk, because I do think a lot of times you being invited on into what is their arena, and you're going to get set up with stupid questions, and then they're going to use clips of it later on against you. And
they would, and that's the thing.
What you said.
Because if you did get flustered over something, whatever, they would.
That's the bit
they would forever use that, and it would always be used. And for whatever you put out on social media, the anti-trans brigade would come out and then put that.
And you'll get huge abuse online afterwards.
It's a huge risk, and I just thought there's nothing to be gained from it. Those people aren't going to change their minds over it. No. So
I mean, the only thing you can gain from it, I think, is that you might be the sole trans voice on there, but you've really got to know, your stuff very well. You've got to be very clear on what you say, and you've got to be able to not get thrown off your topic. So stick to your facts, repeat your facts, don't get pushed onto other topics.
And I think, well, actually, there's nothing to be gained from that, and I'd rather do much more positive things.
Let's do positive stuff, much better.
Exactly. And I'm like, so I do lots of positive interviews, and I've got I'm a co-presenter for a BBC Sounds series called Time for Some LGBT.
So what is that all about?
So it's just talking.
I've seen you've put some pictures on social media. And so some others doing that.
So we've had 2 series so far. So there's 3 presenters. The other presenters are Kevin Nkube, who's a gay man from Zimbabwe, and he had to flee Zimbabwe because it's illegal to be gay over there. And he was a TV presenter on primetime TV over there, so he's very well known. But he got outed, and so he had to flee the country, within 24 hours, and so came over to the UK to find safety. So he's one of the co-presenters, and then Helen McCarthy. So she's a straight cisgender woman, but she's got a trans child. And so it's really nice to have a parent of a trans child there as well. And then basically we interview, lots of different people from the LGBTQIA plus community. And it's lovely. Our chats are just fantastic. I absolutely love them. And it's 100% supportive. I know the BBC hasn't got a great reputation, particularly with trans people. And I have had a little bit of stick from within the trans community for getting involved with the BBC for doing it. But there's absolutely no way that I would get involved with it if it was trans hostile. No, not in a million years.
So it's just the 3 presenters.
It's just the 3 of us, and
then you have different guests on for.
Yeah, exactly. And it is everyone involved in the show is 100% supportive of the whole of the LGBTQIA
Now,
plus.
I have tried to find this on my phone in BBC Sounds, and it's never come up.
Oh, no, no, it's just the way that the BBC do these things. So you can, if you search for it within BBC Sounds, it just doesn't come up because they will only allow things to be searchable that are produced by celebs. And obviously, I'm not a celebrity enough for. I'm working on it, though, Vicky.
Yeah, keep working on that.
But if you do, all you got to do is to go into Google or any search engine and just put
so
in
it's
type.
available, but not on
If
the
you
actual app itself.
well, it is on the app. That's the silly thing. So if you just search on
Okay, so
Google,
once you found it, it then loads into the app.
if you just put into any search engine time for some LGBT, spelled TEA, then you'll see all the episodes. They'll all come up there, and it's all on the BBC Sounds website, so it's all on there. But it's just the way that they do it that it's just not searchable.
That's a bit silly. That
It's
you'd have thought that
stupid.
they've had everything that they do
I know.
on BBC Sounds in the app, so you can find it. I mean,
You would have thought so. Well, it
I
is on
wouldn't
the
I
app,
wouldn't think to go and search for something on the BBC Sounds
no,
in Google. You know, it's like
no.
it should be in the app.
But it all comes up there. It all comes up.
Right.
There's loads on there.
So how many episodes have you done then?
We've done 13 so far. So
right.
we've done
have you had any interesting guests on?
Yeah, we've had some fantastic guests actually. So there's just been, yeah, it's been amazing, to be honest.
I need to go and have a look at this. What's the format of it? So I mean, you sit around drinking tea and interviewing people. Is that how it works?
Basically, yeah. It's just it's just like a podcast really, but with
video podcast.
It's not video, it's audio. It's audio only.
Oh, is it just audio?
It's audio only, yeah. So yeah, and so it's been mainly recorded at the BBC Radio Leicester studios, but we've also done somewhere in other studios, because the beauty of the BBC network is that they've got local studios all over the country, and so we can interview people from other parts of the country, and they can just go to their local BBC
that is handy,
studio, and you can record, and you get this fantastic BBC audio quality.
Yeah, I'm sure the quality is going to be good
wherever they are in the country, and it's great. So it's a great network to be able to tap into. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I'm doing this at home, in my dining room, and I think you're in a spare bedroom doing on your side.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice to have a professional BBC studio available?
yeah. But to be honest, I think I mean, we're both using decent microphones. You got your microphone, but I've got a shotgun mic above my head. Yeah.
So I've learned the hard way. You do need to get some fairly decent equipment to do this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we were talking about Cool2BTrans, and I think we got to the point where we're going to talk about your mentoring and support work that you did. I'm not sure if you're still doing that to the same level, but this was kind of on a one-to-one basis for people who were needing support, wasn't it?
I still do it, but not a huge amount of it. But things that I do get contacted a lot by trans people, parents of trans people, and partners of trans people, and all these people can be struggling with it. And so often, all they need is just a little bit of hand-holding, and then you just see them blossom and flourish, and it's just such a beautiful thing. And so I do that, but I also do that within companies. So often they might have an employee who's struggling.
So you might go into a company, and then somebody would approach you for a kind of, I need a bit of help.
Yeah, exactly. So I can do that, but through the company, so I can do that. But I'm not a counsellor, and so often, and I don't pretend to be. And so often people come to me and they need a lot more help than I can give them. In which case, I signpost them to people who can help them. And
so I guess you're acting more as a friend or a life coach in that situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but to be honest, that's not. I mean, the main things that I do is the education and the entertainment, but educating people through entertainment. So that's the main thing that I do. But then the other stuff comes off the back of it, basically.
Yeah, but I think that support thing. I'm where I work. If anybody needed some support who was going through transition, I'd be available for that. I'm not. Of course. Yeah, anybody who needs that. Yeah, sure, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we all try and do that, don't we?
Definitely. Yeah, and I think the higher profile you get, the more you get to that, because you just because you're out there, people see you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was going to ask you about your trophy cabinet. Now, I'm sure you've had to get a bigger one because you have won so many awards recently.
It's been my
It's like
year,
every
isn't
time I
it?
go on social media, there's Katie with a new award. What's going on? I've got them in a little list here. I'm just going to read some of them out.
Oh,
if you
go
don't
on
mind. So, Trans in the City Community Champion Award 2022.
Yeah,
I was there. I saw that one.
yeah.
This Is Us Awards Training and Development Award 2023.
Yeah.
Listed in the Diva Power List 2023.
Yeah.
Diva Awards Unsung Hero of the Year finalist.
Yeah.
LinkedIn Top Voice, and it will come back to that one.
Yeah.
British Diversity Awards Hero of the Year 2023.
Yeah, that was the big one. That was huge, that one. Yeah.
And I think the most recent one, East Midlands Outstanding Female LGBTQIA Plus Champion 2023. I don't know if I've missed any there.
Yeah, that's about it, I think. But that was in the Women's Awards, and I got so much stick for that. Yeah, all the anti-trans brigade came out in force for that one.
I'm sure. But
yeah,
Katie, that is an impressive list, I have to say. Well done.
Thank
Congratulations for all of
those.
those.
I probably won't win any more awards after this because I think often you find that people, they have their year when it's like
it was definitely your year.
It's like last year and the year before was like Bobby Pickard. You know, she's won loads. She won far more than I have, and she like had a whole load, and then that was her time for winning those awards, and then you go on then to be a judge, and then you end up judging awards and stuff, and so because then it gives a chance for other people, So I've had an incredible year. It's definitely been my year for it, and I've been loving it. But yeah, I'm not expecting it to continue. I'm not under any illusion that it's going to continue. But it doesn't need to, because I always be able to say, yeah, got those.
I mean, yeah,
and I'm very grateful.
There are some great things there. So what is the LinkedIn Top Voice? What the heck is that?
Well, the people at LinkedIn, they just contacted me and said, we've seen what what you're putting out on LinkedIn, and awarded me this Top Voice badge. You can't apply for anything. They just
give it to you.
They just give it to me, and
all right.
yeah. So that's how it came about. So they obviously just.
So have you got all these on the mantelpiece?
I've got a sideboard actually. I've got a sideboard with them all on there. I'm very proud of them. I mean, the British Diversity Awards Hero of the Year Award, that was massive. And 25,000 people, entered that. And
do you get nervous when you have to go and collect an award like that? You have to give a speech.
But I'd had quite a bit to drink though, Vicky. I didn't think I was going to win, because I knew I was a finalist, so I was one of 12. And
I think that would be worse if you know ahead of time, because just get a surprise on the night. I think that's much better than you just get up there and take it, and that's it.
Because when you go there, they play with all this champagne and everything going in. So I thought, will it be rude not to? And they were topping up really regularly as well. And then at the table was loads of wine, and of course then they don't do the awards until after the dinner. So by that time I'd had quite a lot of wine.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had tentatively written an acceptance speech in case I'd won. I didn't think for a minute that I'd win at all, and so they got to our section, and then they said, they announced the runner-up, and it wasn't me. So I thought, okay, well, it's all or nothing now. And then they started reading out the bio of the winner, and I thought, I recognise that because I wrote it, because it's my bio. And I thought, oh no, I couldn't believe it. So I sort of tentatively reached down for my acceptance speech, and I still didn't believe it until they actually announced my name. It was, and then, of course, then I had to go up on stage and make a speech to over 1,000 people and a load of celebs after having a bit too much to drink.
Wow.
I only swore once, so it wasn't bad. Yeah.
So
it was.
Thanks to everybody who knows me. See you later.
Well, no, I actually did quite a hard-hitting speech.
Did you?
About all the hate that there is in and misinformation that there is in politics and in the media, and so I did a very hard-hitting speech. So I just thought
that's good. I mean, hopefully you hadn't had too much to drink to do that. So.
Oh yeah, well, I thought it was a really good opportunity to tell it.
Well, it is. It's an excellent opportunity to kind of nail, hammer that home, isn't it? It's
a platform, and I didn't want to waste it.
Yeah.
So it was a very hard-hitting speech, to be honest. Yeah. And luckily it managed to get reported in the press and stuff as well, which is great.
These available, some of these speeches, where we can go and watch? Are they on your YouTube channel?
I've got it on my YouTube channel. I've got that on my YouTube channel.
I'm gonna have a look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all on there. So yeah.
And you're still working with Trans in the City too, aren't you?
Yeah, still doing some work with them. So I'm like you are an advisor to Transgender City, and been doing some work with them recently. We've been doing recording a series of videos. So they're instructional videos. So for trans awareness training videos that are going to be distributed widely. So
this is a series of trans awareness videos on various topics that you and others have been recording, which will be used by any organisations that are associated with Trans in the City.
Yeah,
Is that how
so
it
a collaboration between Cool2BTrans, Trans in the City, and Global Butterflies.
Oh right, okay.
It's been great. Loved working on it, and we've had so much fun doing it. So we did 2 lots of recordings. So so we did one down in London, and we had various trans people come along and talk about their experiences, and also partners of trans people, parents of trans people as well. So and allies, and so we had lots of different sections, and then we asked them lots of different questions, just to elicit the answers to see. And so we're getting that first-hand experience, and it's great. And then we've got other. And then we filmed another set. So that we did that session in London, in a studio in London, and then we did another session in the studio in Northampton with me, Bobby Pickard, and Emma Cusdin. And so we were sort of doing the intros and outros, and we had some sessions that we did ourselves as well, some educational stuff as well, and so that we were putting in there. But yeah, so very excited about that. I think it's going to be
So when are those going to be available?
Well, they're going to be launched at the Trans in the City Gala, so Trans Awareness Week.
So they will be available for sponsors, partners.
Yep, and for anyone, for
anybody else who might need some. Yeah, okay, that's great.
They're going to be great. They're going to be something to watch out for.
Looking forward to seeing those. Really... I've not seen any snippets. I've seen photographs of you recording.
Oh yeah, we've put.
But on socials, but no snippets.
We put photos out on social media to let people know that.
Looks
actually
good.
I haven't put them out on my. I haven't put those out on my social media. I need to do that.
No, I mean it looks good. You can see it's like professional filming.
Well, Bobby asked me to do it because obviously that's my skill set from being a photographer and filmmaker. So obviously, and so she wanted it to be produced, so by trans people, and so so I was asked to do it. So and it's been great. It's been.
Yeah, I am looking forward to seeing that. It does look.
Yeah, they're so powerful. That's it. The speakers that we got were amazing. They were so good, and I mean, and there were so many people that we could have asked that we just couldn't get everybody that wanted on there because there wouldn't have been too many. But the people we got, they were brilliant. They said so much. They're causing so much of a problem with editing the videos because they've said so much good stuff.
Just gotta leave it all in.
Well, yeah, I think that's what we'll probably end up doing. And
so what do you end up with at the end of the process? Is like training videos of a certain length that you can use for various topics.
Exactly, just a series of videos, and we split them up into different topics. Yeah.
So somebody who's doing a presentation at a company could kind of switch between here's a video on this and then do a bit of talking. Is that how it's supposed to be used?
Yeah, exactly like that. They can use it like that, or they could
use as a resource
as a resource, just as separate standalone things that they can put in their libraries or however they want to use them. Yeah. It's just.
That's going to be really useful. I can imagine a lot of little organisations who can't afford to do that. It's going to be a really good resource for them.
Definitely, yeah, because a lot can't, and they're just, but and it doesn't take away from what I do or what Emma does or what Bobby does. It doesn't take away from that because we all do our stuff.
I mean, it's all a big collaboration anyway, so it just helps, doesn't it?
Exactly, and we do stuff in person. It's obviously that's better, but this is all extra, and it all adds. You're hearing firsthand from other people is fantastic. It really is. I think.
Yeah, and the people in it, like yourself and others. I mean, the trans community would probably know who these people are.
Oh yeah.
So I think that gives it a bit more. Kudos. It's like, it's like, oh, I recognize that person.
Yeah. Oh, they will do. They will do. Yeah.
So that's really good.
Yeah. No, it's great. So I think it's a really great collaboration. I'm so happy to be involved with it.
Yeah. I mean, on that topic of collaboration, I often think that we don't do enough collaboration. The trans organizations, I've spoken about this with other guests, and I think we need to figure out ways of collaborating on projects like the one we've just been discussing. Like somebody like yourself, Cool2BTrans, collaborating with Trans in the City, collaborating with some little organizations as well. We really need to do a lot more of this, in my view.
Definitely.
Because
we need to work together, don't we?
Yeah, because the little organizations, they probably don't have the funds to do it.
No.
The big organizations probably don't want to do everything. They want to make sure everybody's involved. Because I think it's really important that, from grassroots right up to, large organizations, we all need to be working together because we all have a common, need to do this.
100%.
Just wonder what you kind of thought about, collaborating, and then the funding for small organizations. It's really difficult to find funding.
It is. It really is. Yeah. And it's and I think because we're such a small section of society. We absolutely need to work together, and we need to work together with more allies as well, and get more allies activated as well, because there is so much hate out there and misinformation, and we're getting it straight from the top of the government. When you got the prime minister
making jokes about us,
making jokes about us and doing trans hostile speeches at the conference, it's disgusting. It really isn't it? And I've noticed since he made that speech, the amount of hate speech and hate posts on social media has gone through the roof. It's really increased. It's because he has given legitimacy to the haters. Because if he's doing it, they think, well, if it's all right for the prime minister, then it's all right for me to be like that. Well, no, it's not all right for you to be like that. It's not. And so now is the time for allies to stand up and say, no, we don't accept that. Not in our name. Don't do this. And because the thing is, if they say nothing, then they're effectively endorsing what he said, and they're saying, well, it's okay for him to be like that. Well, it's not okay for him to be like that. And so our allies need to stand up and give us a bit of help. We desperately need their help now.
Yeah. So whatever we can do in terms of collaboration, big and small organization, and with allies, we need to do it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just doing this little podcast, I try and do interviews with a kind of a broad range of people. I'm not sure how much it helps, but I hope it does.
It does, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think everything that goes out there helps.
I worry about the that sometimes there's fractures within our community. There's different kind of elements within it where there's little fallouts and disputes and things. I mean, I understand why those happen. Everybody's trying to do the right thing. It's, we're all trying to work in the same direction, but there are these kind of little schisms that go on now and again. But I think we need to kind of forget about those and just collaborate and work together.
They're going to happen in any sphere. That's going to happen.
Yeah,
there's going to be infighting and stuff. That's going to happen. But you just have to look past that, look beyond that, and look at what actually we've got more in common.
Focus on the positives.
Absolutely, and look at what we can all do, because we've all got the same end goal in sight. It's just that different people have got different ways of going about it, and certainly I've made mistakes in the past of some of the approaches that I've made, and I've learned from them, and I think we've all made mistakes, haven't we? And that's life.
We learn as we go.
We're just human beings, aren't we? We
are.
can only do our best.
Yes. So more collaboration, I think, is what we need.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't know. Have you been involved in the Trans in the City speaker stage?
I haven't done any of those
yet.
Oh,
that is so good.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I went down to the Chippenham one last year.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
There was, there was Lord Cashman there, Lisa Power.
Yeah,
brilliant. There was all kinds of amazing people doing little speeches and interviews on the stage. It was great.
Brilliant.
I mean, that's something that I would expect to see Katie Neeves on the stage doing.
Well, hopefully that will happen at some point. Yeah. Certainly, if they ask me, I should do it. Definitely.
Oh yeah, it's really worthwhile.
Definitely, yeah.
It's no way. No
way I'd say no to them.
No, I mean, if you go to a local pride, a small town, or a village even, and there's a speaker stage now being done by Trans in the City, that is such a boost for that small pride event. Because how else would they get those kind of speakers to show up at a pride event if it wasn't being done through an organisation like Trans in the City with their connections?
wouldn't get it.
They wouldn't get it, would they? I mean, it's such a unique thing. I really can't praise that enough. It's great.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Yeah, so so there's a pride event that I'm the local pride that I'm trying to get to the Trans in the City speaker stage to, because it's a pride that has lost its way in terms of, I'm not going to name them, but it's lost its way in terms of it's become more of a carnival for the LGBT part of it, and forgetting that actually pride is a protest. And and it's not a parade, it's a march, and it's so it would be great to be able to get the Trans in the City speaker stage to that, because that would really help that particular pride. So I'm working on that one at the moment. So
let's hope that happens. That sounds like a good idea.
Definitely.
Then what's your view on like activism and protest? So I often think, I should go to that protest in London. I'm up in Manchester. It's a long way to go. And I kind of worry about what's going to happen if I go to a protest like that. I'd like to go. I guess what kind of protest is appropriate, what kind of activism is appropriate. The way I kind of look at it is we should all do what we can, what we're comfortable with. Don't put yourself at risk if you're not comfortable with doing it.
I think you do as much as you can with whatever you're comfortable with, and there's lots of different ways to protest. Doing podcasts like this is a way of protest. It's educating people, and with the stuff that I do, with the media activities that I do and stuff like that, it's a way of protesting as well. But I go to prides, and I have my megaphone, otherwise known as the gobby phone. Lots of people say I don't need it, but but more than more
I
than
think you had your megaphone at Brighton Trans Pride 2 years ago.
I did this year. I didn't the previous year. No, it was just my big goal.
Oh, just your loud voice. Yeah,
it was. I was doing a lot of leading the chanting.
Yeah, that's what you're doing. I thought you were doing with the microphone.
Yeah.
No, okay.
Yeah. So I said, so I do a lot of that. And I think you need to be heard. We need to be heard. Our voices definitely need to be heard. So you do whatever you're comfortable with.
Do what you're comfortable with.
Absolutely. But I don't condone yet some trans activists who go into sort of violence and sort of threatening violence, and I don't condone that one bit, because that just shoots us in the foot. It doesn't do our cause any good. It causes us harm, because then it gives ammunition to the anti-trans brigade, doesn't it? So
I mean, I understand there's a lot of pent up frustration, there's a lot of anger. I understand that, but
totally
we've got to find a way of expressing what our message is. Try and do it with like we said before, with humor. I think that's a great tool.
Absolutely.
And people should do what they can in terms of activism, whatever they're comfortable with.
100%. Yeah.
But it can be a difficult topic. What is appropriate in terms of the kind of activism and protest that you're doing. But as long as it's legal,
absolutely,
and you're safe and you're comfortable doing it, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just and I think it's just using that variety and whatever's comfortable to you. Definitely.
Yeah. And would you what personal message would you have to the trans community at this time, based on all the horrible things that are going on with the government against us, the British media in particular? I mean, what would you say to the community as a whole?
As trans people, we're really getting a kicking at the moment, aren't we? We're really hurting, aren't we, as a community? But what I'd say is, hang on in there. This will pass. I get the feeling we're at a peak now. I mean, I can't see how it can get much worse than it is now, but it will pass. And people are seeing, good people are seeing that this is vile behaviour, on behalf of the government and the media and everything. And I think the anti-trans rhetoric will probably increase on the run up to the next general election. my hope is that after the general election, unfortunately we're quite a way off the next general election, because I can't see them going early, but I think hopefully after the general election, then hopefully it should die down. I think that's probably the way that it'll happen, but I think it will ramp up on the run up to that. So we're probably nearing the peak, but after that, hopefully it will get better. But we've just got to hang on in there, and we've just got to encourage as many of our cisgender allies just to stand up for us, and look after each other as well. Regularly check in on your trans friends, whether you're trans or not, whether you're cis or trans. If you've got trans friends, check in on them just to see they are okay, because it's a tough time at the moment, isn't it, Vicky?
Very much so. A tough time. A lot of my friends, they are. I can see that they're suffering with the constant bad news, the constant abuse that we seem to get from the government and media. It's relentless. It never stops. We do have to realize that this is it is related to the fact that we're witnessing the end of the Tory party. And they are lashing out. They are using this as an easy way to get votes, based on the culture war that they like to propagate. So it will come to an end. I think my message is don't give up, keep fighting, do what you can.
Absolutely.
And we definitely need to work collectively, collaboratively with ourselves and with our allies.
Definitely.
Hopefully we'll get through this.
We will. We'll get through it together, Vicky.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on and having a chat with me. It was very nice to see you again.
So lovely to see you again. Yeah, definitely.
So we should your episode seems to be episode 13. So for the next series, I should book you in now for episode 13 of next year. Or next series.
Yeah.
That could be your episode number. And it is the 13th of October today. So and it's a Friday, so we're pretty brave, aren't we?
There you go. Yeah, why not? Let's go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully I'll see you down at Trans in the City in November.
Yes, I shall be there.
We shall meet up there. Yeah, very good. I'm probably going to be doing some podcasts, so I'm going to ask you to do a little interview while we're down there.
Yeah, no problem. You know me, always up for it.
Fabulous.
Never short of something to say.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks so much for coming on. It's been great. And to our lovely listeners and watchers, please, thank you for watching and listening. And please come back again. There'll be another gripping episode coming along soon.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much. I will sign us off there. Bye for now.
Bye.